My 26th missed an important funeral, and now I think my 5-year relationship with my partner, 28, might be over. Before everything happened between us, we were solid. I thought this guy was my forever. We've lived together for the past 3 years, and I always loved him and the way we supported and helped each other. He used to say we were family, and we would always look after each other. This year was my final year in uni, to get my March and my Part 2 exemption to become an architect. In March this year, the final printed copy of my research project was due, basically a culmination of the past 7 years of my education. Unfortunately, in this time, my partner's grandmother passed away. This woman basically raised him when both his parents couldn't deal. They were incredibly close. In her final years, she got dementia, but she always remembered him and their little inside jokes. He loved her so much. Probably more than anyone else in the whole world. Over those few weeks after she passed away, I tried to spend a lot of time with him. I took him to the archdiocese, and we lit candles and walked through the gardens and talked about his grandmother. His friends came up for a visit that weekend, and I spent the weekend with them to keep him happy, even though I should have been working on finishing my research project. I took care of him all that week, letting him rest and try to mourn. Unfortunately, his boss is a huge prick, and it was a struggle for him to get any time off to properly rest and take care of himself. His grandmother's funeral was scheduled to be 4 days before my research project hand-in date. The problem with this is that I still needed to get everything printed and do final editing, and the funeral was happening on the other side of the country. This was a 200-page research project. I worked my arse off to get everything together beforehand, so that I could go with him. But in the end, I didn't have the time, and the reality was that I was editing and adding to the project up until 2 days before my hand-in. I did Skype with him in the mornings and evenings so we could talk about how he was doing. After the funeral, he returned home, but he was incredibly sad. After my hand-in, I tried to talk with him about it. He showed me some pictures, and I read the eulogy that his sister read at the funeral. I cried a bit after reading the eulogy. And that's when my boyfriend got angry. He said that I didn't have a right to cry or be upset because it was his grandmother, and because I had chosen to forego the funeral. Things have just gone downhill since then. It's been 2 months. On top of my research project, I also had my regular work to finish over the past 2 months. It's just been a very busy time in my life. My boyfriend went through a similar experience the year before, where I helped and supported him through his work. And he tried to help me and support me through mine, but the entire time he was cold and distant. And at one point, he even admitted to me that he didn't want to help me. And he couldn't be bothered. So this all came to a head recently, when I confronted him about how he's been distant and the way he has been treating me, ignoring me all day, being rude, distant, and sometimes downright nasty to me. He basically said he can't forgive me for missing his grandmother's funeral. And he doesn't think he ever will. At this point, I will admit that I lost it. I was put in a situation where I had to choose between my relationship and my education, and it's only in hindsight that I see it. I was so overwhelmed and upset that I hit my head against the wall, hard, and screamed, but only because I've never been in so much emotional pain in my life. I didn't know how to handle it, so I handled it poorly. Since then, things have not gotten better. We've tried to talk it over calmly. But a few days ago, he lost it and went on this rant about how terrible his life is and how hurt he is. There is a lot more going on with his family than I knew, including that his father used to beat him badly and his grandmother would protect him. I never knew this about his father, though I knew they had an incredibly strained relationship. I've suggested therapy, but he has said he's not up for it. We talked about a solution, and he thinks I need to go back to my home country by myself for a few weeks and be with my family, and to leave him alone for that time so that he can think and mourn alone. He also said that he is thinking about moving out of our flat at the end of the summer to go live with some friends, but he said that he wants us to stay together. I think at this point that the relationship might be over. I don't know how to show him that I'm sorry I missed the funeral, but there was no other option for me. I love this guy so much, but if this is how our relationship is going to be, I don't think I can do it. I need perspective on this issue, maybe some advice on how to apologize properly, and if not, maybe some advice on how to end a long-term relationship. Edit. A lot of people have been mentioning this. I did ask for an extension from my academic advisor, and he told me that the school does not grant extensions under any circumstances. The way my university handles mitigating circumstances for graduate projects is that they expect you to turn in whatever work you have completed by the deadline, and then they allow you to resubmit the completed project at the next grading cycle. However, this would mean that I would not be allowed to graduate this year and would have to wait until the next graduation cycle. Also, I should mention that we usually return to my home country for a few weeks in the summer to visit my family. A trip wasn't planned or set for this summer, but we had discussed a possibility of it. That's why it's not a completely unreasonable request that I go home for a while. TLDR, my boyfriend can't forgive me for missing his grandmother's funeral, but it was scheduled only 4 days before I had to hand in my huge research project for my master's degree. He has been distant and treating me coldly and for the past 2 months, and now wants me to go back to my home country and leave him to grieve alone for a few weeks. He says he needs some space and is considering moving out of our home, but overall wants us to still be together. Advice? Help? Top comments. Thrice free chip. I would suggest that if he is going through this emotional turmoil over his grandmother, he should leave the house. By all means, if he needs space, he should take it, but you should not have to leave your home or the country for him to grieve. Steady advice. If he can't forgive you, there can be no relationship. And if his conditions for grieving involve you moving out, then yes, it's over. If he doesn't forgive you, then in every disagreement that comes up, he's going to pull out this incident to bludgeon you. It's also clear that he has never fully opened up to you. The fact that you only just found out how bad his childhood was is a bad sign. It's the sort of thing that you talk about with people you are close to, because it helps to explain how you deal with the world. It's a level of vulnerability that leads to a deeper level of trust. And always choose education over relationships. So's come and go. The only permanent relationship in your life is with yourself. You significant other needs to recognize that you can't move a graduate thesis deadline. This was the culmination of higher education that you'd been working toward for 7 years. That is not the kind of thing you blow off, even for a funeral. It sounds like you were very supportive the entire time and took time out of a very stressful period in your life to comfort him. He needs to recognize this, and hopefully he will, once the grief lessens. I don't think you need to apologize. I think some space you going to visit family isn't a bad thing. But if he still wants to move in with friends after you return, then he's basically saying he can't forgive you. Personally, I would tell him he needs to go to therapy to process his grief in a healthy way. The way he's lashing out at you isn't fair, and if he isn't willing to work through it, then it's over. Update 2 weeks later. I just wanted to first say thank you very much for all of your advice. It was really helpful. It made me feel like less of a terrible person and made me realize that my boyfriend is still mourning the loss of his grandmother. My SO and I had a long discussion the night I posted for advice on Reddit, and we agreed that we wanted to be together but that something needed to change in our relationship. We set some basic ground rules. We both agreed to start seeing separate therapists, him for his grief and troubles with his dad and me for my lack of confidence and stress management. He again asked for space, so he moved out of our bedroom and into the spare bedroom in our flat. I also booked a flight home for a few weeks to visit my own family. And I'm set to leave in 4 days. We were making some good progress this week, enjoying time with each other, going to the park, just generally trying to reconnect. After sleeping in the spare bed for 5 days, he decided to move back into our room, and I was very happy about that. Up until 2 days ago, I genuinely thought that we were going to make it through this. Things came to a head last night. I received my grades back from the school. I am very proud to say that I got an A on my research project, and one of my urban design proposals has also been nominated by my school for a gold award from the REBA. I am incredibly proud. This year was definitely the most difficult in my entire life, and I did not expect to do as well as I actually did. I literally just wept when I got my results. I sent my significant other a long message, letting him know how I did and about the nomination, but more importantly, thanking him for being there to support me through my degree. I told him I loved him and that I was glad we were working together on our relationship. He came home that night fuming. He was so angry. He just yelled at me for basically an hour about my lack of confidence in my own work and about how I didn't need to miss his grandmother's funeral. He told me he hated me, and after that I sort of just numbed out. I don't really remember much of what he said after that. I just stopped talking and listening. My final end-of-year show is happening this week. It's a huge celebration of the students' work. I filled an entire wall to exhibit my architectural work and my research results. During the end-of-year show, a lot of people find jobs. So it's important for us to be there to network and talk about our projects with people in the industry. I did this for my boyfriend last year when he exhibited his own work. I spent 6 hours at that event talking to different people about how amazing his work was. This morning he told me not to expect him to come tonight because he needs to go to the gym. I'm flying home in 4 days and I can tell that he just wants me to leave and never come back, which is what I am doing. I have stuck with all my promises that I made to him. I've supported him as best I could and I've begun seeing a therapist. He hasn't even called his GP to get a referral to a therapist yet. He doesn't want to fix our relationship. He just wants to keep me around to pay half of our rent and to use me as a punching bag. So we're over. I just paid my final half of the rent, and I'm moving back to my home country. I was originally only planning on returning for a few weeks. But with this Brexit vote looking so grim, I don't really see the point in being in the UK anymore. Why return and find a job here when I will most likely be asked to leave in a year? I like the UK, and I love my boyfriend, but it seems neither wants me, so I'm going home to take care of myself. TLDR, tried to use Reddit's advice to fix my relationship, worked for just over a week. I got my grades back and I did extremely well. My SO threw that back in my face, and is now refusing to come to my final exhibition of my work. So we're over, I'm moving back home. I have no plans to ever return to the UK. Final comments. OP's reply to a deleted comment. Thank you for your kind words. And don't worry, nothing on earth could keep me from my final showing at university. I'm very proud of my work and so are my friends and family. I'm going tonight and I'll be celebrating and drinking in good company. My boyfriend did not study architecture, but we attended the same university where he studied digital design and, truthfully, he put on an excellent exhibition. I think he understands how much work I put in, but overall resents the fact that I could not spend my attention on him when he needed me most. You're right. I might be jumping the gun on Brexit and everything might turn out all right. But I'm worried about the economic implications of the fallout, and I'm not interested in struggling through a poor economy and constricted construction industry. I've actually just been offered a job at a firm working on a city planning project in my home country, from a friend of my father's. It's nepotism, but I am excited for the project and a new start. So I think this is a good time to leave for me. Stinktharbell. Resents the fact that I could not spend my attention on him when he needed me most. But you did spend attention on him, and time. You worked hard to be there for him, and you were there for him emotionally. You just couldn't drop everything for him. He sounds like a turd for being this resentful of you, and I think you deserve better. Good luck with your career. Ananas. Just out of curiosity, does he already know that you won't come back? If so, what was his reaction? If not, do you plan on telling him somehow? Also, I think you made the right choice. I can certainly imagine that he will come around at one point and realize how idiotic his behavior was, but I can totally see why you wouldn't want to wait for this since this day could also never come. Upe, I told him this morning. I think he was kind of numb after everything he said last night, so he just agreed. He's been texting me all day from work saying that he's sorry and that he will come to my show, but I replied that he's no longer invited. I'm staying at a friend's place for the next 4 days. I'm just in the middle of packing all of my clothes now. I don't care about the furniture in the flat, and I'm leaving my bike and instruments with my friend so she can use the bike and take care of my instruments. Deleted. Do you think he'll show up anyway? Is it open to the public? I'd hate for you guys to end up having a knockdown drag-out fight while you were trying to network professionally. Then again, given his attitude and behavior, the way you described it, he might just accept his uninvitation and not bother fighting for it. OP. I'm not really concerned about if he shows up. This event isn't open to the public, and the security is very tight. He isn't a violent guy. I expect if he does show up at my friend's house over the weekend that he would just be crying. I think it will be better once I'm gone. Then he can focus on himself, and I can focus on myself. And OP answers where she is and where the funeral was. To be very clear, I live in Glasgow, Scotland, and the funeral was happening in a town called Felixstowe, in Sussex. I was not exaggerating when I said it was literally on the other side of the country.